Okay. Well, hello, everybody. It is so great to be here with all of you. I feel like I still have Sean Fraser's podium, though. I'm not sure. Anyways, it's Marit Stiles. I am the leader of Ontario's NDP and the leader of the official opposition here in the beautiful province of Ontario. And it is a huge honor to be here with all of you today. I want to start out by congratulating Colin Best and the outgoing AMO board of directors for, and not just them, but all of you, for 125 years. And I also want to take a moment to introduce my incredible team of NDP MPPs who are here with us today. I think most of them are over here somewhere, I think. Yeah? Okay, there we are. Okay, we have MPPs Wayne Gates, Lisa Gretzky, Jeff Birch, Chandra Pasma, Catherine Fife, Jen French, Chris Glover, Terrence Kernahan, Saul Mamakwa, Peggy Sattler, Lise Vaugeois, and Kristen Wong Tam, all here to meet with all of you. They've been real champions for their communities. And before I get into it, I also want to take a moment to thank all the delegates who are here today with us. Mayors, wardens, reeves, councillors, and of course, everyone who works for our cities and our towns and our counties. And I want to take a special moment here to thank all of the women elected officials, the municipal leaders, and the women staffers who are here today. Your voice and your work is incredibly important. We sure need more women in politics. But the thing is, politics, including municipal politics, has not always been a safe place for women. We can and we must do better to make town halls and city halls all across the province safe workplaces for women. And that's why, along with my colleague MPP Jeff Birch, we listened to and we worked with women's organizations like Women of Ontario Say No, right? And we brought forward a bill that doesn't just pay lip service, but puts in place real measures to hold everyone in elected office accountable for misconduct, one that addresses the reality women face in these workplaces. I want my daughters, I want your daughters and your granddaughters to see a place for themselves in elected office, in government at all levels. And to do that, we have got to make this change. Are you with me? So look, we've had a chance over the last day and over the last few years to meet and hear from many of you the challenges that your communities are facing. Yes, but also I hear in your voices that passionate belief that people in your community deserve better, deserve more. People in your communities deserve good things, things that should be a given. Now, just last month, I was in Tweed with Mayor Don DeGeneva, right? Where's Don? Is he there? Hey, there he is, right up at the front. And I want to tell you that Don's community, like so many of yours, is struggling with crumbling roads and bridges, the rising cost of living. We were joined by mayors and wardens and councillors from all over that beautiful part of our province. And Mayor DeGenova is a champion for his community, like so many of you. But here's the thing. He shouldn't have to beg the province to do its job, right? To pay for the things that the province is responsible for, right? He shouldn't have to lobby for Tweed residents to have safe roads and bridges to get to school and to work. These are not luxuries. These are everyday necessities. But this is the reality that small towns and rural municipalities, heck, all towns in our province are facing. left to foot the bill for neglect at the provincial level. And I'm not just talking about roads. I'm talking about homelessness, addiction, and housing, issues that are not just big city issues. And I want to shout out to our friend, the mayor of Belleville, Neil Ellis, right? In February of this year, 23 people overdosed in Belleville in a span of less than 48 hours. Multiple people collapsing at the same time. And I want to applaud Mayor Ellis for speaking up about this humanitarian crisis. It's happening on our streets. And for so many of you, I want to thank you too, because you've been fighting for solutions, for urgent help to save lives. But it is simply not acceptable that you, our local leaders, our municipalities, have been left to deal with this on your own. That has to stop, right? That has to stop. I'm going to tell you, I think we've heard enough nice words and enough empty promises. The province has to treat this epidemic with the urgency it deserves. Last year, Ontario had at least 1,400 homeless encampments in places like Pembroke and Kitchener. People are living in parks and in tents because they have nowhere else to go. People cannot get the help they need. Cities and towns don't have the resources to support those who are suffering just because the province has sidestepped its responsibility. It is shameful. And I know many of you feel this way. Those of you representing rural and northern Ontario communities, you've been hit that much harder with larger areas to deliver services in and a smaller tax base to draw on. And look, I don't have to tell you that the relationship between our province and our municipalities is broken. It's your communities, your residents who are left to carry the water. Whether you live in Kingston or Pembroke, Belleville or Brampton, Thunder Bay or Essex, you deserve livable communities with homes you can afford, good jobs, and healthcare that is there when you need it. I'll tell you, it is just unacceptable to be left holding the bag for another level of government's neglect. And I know these guys are in the room with us right now, but I am not afraid to say it. I think this provincial government may have forgotten what its job is and who they are responsible for. Yeah, you have been taken for granted for far too long. And I promise you that as Premier, I am going to treat you with the respect you deserve as our local experts and our local leaders. And more important than anything, I will not take your residents for granted, not for 1 second. Ontario municipalities are investing over $60 billion annually in what are vital services and infrastructure. And what are you getting in return? Footing the bill for things that the province should be paying for, right? Housing, healthcare, infrastructure. Forced to jack up property taxes on people you know are already struggling to pay their bills. And can I just say, I heard the Premier come in here and boast about reducing taxes by $8 billion. But can we all just agree that's being downloaded onto you, right? I mean, he's just you are subsidizing programs that other levels of government should be chipping in for, should be paying for. And I think we should call those double-digit increases what they really are, a Doug Ford tax. I think Don wants to call it a Doug Ford levy, in fact. But look, here's my proposal. I want to share with you my proposal today. This is what I, as the Premier, and what an NDP government will promise to deliver to you. And that's a new deal for municipalities where provincial responsibilities, get ready for it, are paid for by the province. And This really shouldn't be such a radical concept. But under my government, the province will pay its fair share, reversing downloads and cuts and making sure that municipalities have permanent, sustainable funding that you can count on. Fair cost sharing on our shared priorities like social housing and infrastructure, public health, childcare, long-term care. And this New Deal, we're going to build it together. And that's why we're calling it Building Strong and Caring Communities. Because no one understands the unique challenges and the unique needs that your communities face like you do. The social and economic prosperity review that you have called for is almost 20 years overdue. Like, you get an F for that, right? Surely. As Premier, I'm going to make sure that all 444 of you are at the table to complete that review, to fix the provincial municipal fiscal framework so that communities are no longer left holding the bag for the province's abdication of leadership. Look, I grew up in a small rural community outside of the city. I think I know better than many who live in big cities like I do now that small, rural, and northern communities face different challenges than larger urban communities. And that's why I believe it's so important that an NDP government apply a rural and northern lens to every decision we make. We're going to make sure that those of you, from rural and northern municipalities have a seat at the table in every discussion. Because this New Deal, it needs to work for all Ontarians, no matter where you live. All right, let's talk housing. Because I believe, like you do, that it is a human right and that everyone deserves a safe and a decent place to live. But the elephant in the room is that you've been left to deal with the consequences of 30 years of provincial neglect for the provincial responsibility of delivering housing. And I'm going to say it specifically social and supportive housing. And as Premier, I'm going to change that. I want to bring the province back into the business of building housing again. Right? Yeah. When did we stop doing that? Back in the 90s, mid-90s? The federal government, the provincial government, they stopped funding that. Under our Homes Ontario plan, an NDP government is going to re-upload the financial responsibility for housing, for shelters, for homelessness prevention, and we're going to at least double the supply of community housing, nonprofits, and co-ops. And you know what? We're going to do that while maintaining locally focused delivery by municipal service managers, because you know your communities best and you deserve a provincial government that listens to you. Now, I've heard time and time again from all of you here that government is always shifting priorities and policies and no one is taking any responsibility. And definitely navigating government these days is near impossible. So an NDP government, we're going to designate a single ministry responsible for the homelessness crisis. Yes, we are. And we're going to, sound familiar? And we're going to include addressing the root issues of mental health and addictions and the creation of the necessary wraparound supports in that as well. And on transit, because people deserve local transit that's frankly reliable and accessible and affordable, an NDP government is going to restore 50% funding for local transit operations. But we're not going to stop there. Well, you can clap for that. But we're not going to stop there because we're also going to restore the 90-10 provincial municipal cost model for ambulance services and bring back the 75-25 cost sharing with municipalities for the local public health units. You see a theme here, I guess. And we're going to re-upload the financial responsibility of provincially owned controlled access highways all across Ontario. And for connecting link highways, whose costs were unfairly downloaded onto you decades ago, we're gonna re-upload those too. Because you know what, folks? If it's good enough for Toronto, it is good enough for all of us, right? We're gonna listen to you and support you to meet the challenges that you're facing. And there are growing challenges out there, like the need to adapt to the increased risks of flooding and heat stress, and all of those other things we're dealing with associated with the climate crisis. And we'll make sure that you have permanent funding that you can count on and that allows you to do that important planning ahead, not just one-time infusions of cash. That you're consulted on everything that affects you rather than having surprise policies sprung on you. And we'll prioritize, and I think this is really important. We're going to prioritize our public health care and public education systems. And we're going to do that so that new moms can have their babies safely in their communities. And then they can find quality, affordable childcare when they return to work. And communities where kids can learn and grow and get an education that is so much better than basic. Where young families can afford a home in the communities they want to live in, and where we can grow old and know we will be taken care of. I look around this room and I see the pressure you're under. I know that when people are hurting, you get the calls, right? You feel that deeply. Your communities deserve better. I've had the pleasure to sit with so many of you already today at AMO, and over these past years that I've been privileged to work in provincial politics, I have heard your pleas, but also your passion. More than that, I've taken what I've heard here very seriously, and I've gone to your communities to see firsthand the crisis that you're facing. And this is what I hear from you. You are community builders. You have vision. You are committed to cultivating dynamic, robust communities that people want to live in, want to come to, where you can attract talented people, where people can live good, healthy lives, and where they can thrive. So thank you. Thank you for all of the important work